I just want, obviously for the board to be aware that some of our considerations, obviously, we're coming out with a new strategic plan. And, part of our strategic plan, and it's going to be released hopefully really soon here, but trying to focus our budget on our outcomes and objectives. Two of the main things being, that we reduce our weighted crime rate and we increase our clearance rate, which are two trends that we're seeing locally trending the wrong direction. And, that's not lost on any of us here at the police service. And of course, we have a number of considerations. And when I say considerations, I don't mean excuses, because there is no excuses, but there's considerations that we factor in when we prepare our budget. And obviously, when we look at budgeting on its as a global project. Obviously Kingston, we have a lot of penitentiaries, and we have people who obviously spend their time in Kingston and then sometimes remain in Kingston. And I think per capita, we can certainly look at that, and not saying that people come out and they all reoffend, because that's not the case. But we do have a lot of offenders that are reoffending, and of course, that's globally kind of across Canada right now, where we're seeing a lot of discussions about bail reform and what's happening. And that's something that occurs in Kingston as well. As I've said before, most people that we're arresting or we're dealing with have been they've been arrested before. It's not their first offense. And, sometimes we're chasing the same people, 90% of the crime being committed by 10% of the population, and we're continually chasing the same person. So that's certainly got a major effect on us. And I know Canadians are globally working on solving that issue. And that's something that we're continually working for as well. And I think it's important to add that, obviously, when we include things like downloading of sexual assault investigations, that we've got a major military base, those are some of the challenges we face that other communities don't. And of course, we're working with our counterparts at the Department of National Defense, and we're working with our counterparts in the OPP and neighboring agencies to assist with that. But we also we have a fairly substantial encampment that's not lost on anybody here, and has been in the news quite a bit. We have a care hub that's doing their best, but obviously under capacity. And there's no secret there that obviously there's more people than we can really put resources at. And despite the tremendous job, there's still some people, for lack of a better term, being left out in the cold. And obviously for us, all of these things contribute to, in one way or another, to enforcement or policing strategies. So, as we've seen, the community of Kingston really striving towards looking at, for example, the opioid poisoning and mental health being, a medical crisis and not a law enforcement crisis, but we find ourselves in the middle as police, often as the last resort or the only person available to attend. So working with our strategic plan, obviously there's strategies we're going to propose in our budget that are going to help, that we believe offset our increasing weighted crime rates and decreased clearance rates. So, those are things that we want to continually work at. So that's some of the considerations, but by no means all of them. Of course, the strategic plan for us being the guide to direct us forward, and in order to reach some of those outcomes. I'm going to ask Lori here if we can put the presentation up. Certainly, I will go through the slides, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. And you'll see where we're kind of coming from here. So right off the hop, obviously, one of our questions is, and one of our major asks here, so there's no surprises when we go through the budget, is staffing. And you'll see when we go through what we're asking for in a staffing complement. And of course, wages and salary and wages, we know are the bulk of our budget. However, what we're trying to accomplish and what we're facing in the community is something that we want to address in this budget. So without further ado, if we could go to slide number 2, please, Lori. There we go. So our current staffing levels, obviously we're sitting with sworn, we have 211, we have 62 civilian, and we have 29 part-time. The bottom of the slide showing our absenteeism. which obviously that fluctuates, that will fluctuate as we move along. The numbers can go up and down, but right now, current snapshot shows that we have 15 off for a total of 196 sworn officers and 59 civilians. Next slide, please, Lori. A comparative staffing, it's always difficult. Every community has their own challenges. We have different challenges than other communities, but we just want to show, here's an example of Kingston with the officers available to serve. Then when we add in our absences, which are the boxes on the left, and then we add in the student population, and then we add the student population and the 15 absences. And that's just kind of showing there. Once again, it's a snapshot. Next slide, please. And I see some of the cameras are coming back up. So there we go. So, so as I kind of discussed at the beginning, our proposed staffing levels, what we're looking to do in 2023 is add eight sworn officers to our complement and 4 civilians that are going to assist in our communications center. So that would bring up our total complement to 219 sworn and 66 civilians. And then if you look below, the active number becomes 204 and 63. And we've got a number of joint forces operations that we're using, and you can see the staff that's been assigned to that. The majority of those seconded positions are funded through the province. And, we receive their salaries and overtime and a number of things related to the costs to do that. And that brings extra enforcement to our community as well. But we also go and help neighboring agencies because we know obviously crime and criminals don't follow boundaries. So we have to be prepared for everything. Our 4 additional communicators obviously are going to be assisting in call taking, 911, and dispatching of our police officers. And we also we know we have NG 911, next generation 911 coming in, which is going to be a monumental change in the way that we have to dispatch staff and the manner in which we receive 911 calls, text, video, chat, all this. So that's coming in the very near future, as early as next year. So, we've got to be prepared for all of these things as well. Next slide, please. So overall here, our proposed budget, as we said, our wages and benefits really are the bulk of our budget. Here we've just broken it down so you can see what our 22 was and what our proposed 23 is. There is an increase that we're obviously asking the board to consider, which would be a 4% increase. Next slide, please. So this is just outlining some of the additional changes in revenue that we're seeing. Obviously, there's a number of things that we do locally to bring in a revenue with grants and things along those lines, like our youth and policing program at the bottom. And then you can see that our actual, we're required to provide statistics on our prisoner transportation. And at the end of each year, they make a decision on how much we'll get the following year based on our actual costs. So we can see there was a reduction in 2023 of 66,000. So those are just some of the revenue changes that you'll see. Next slide, please. Wages and benefits. Obviously, what we're seeing here is, our 2023 budget that you're seeing is with the additional staffing. Obviously, hiring 8 new officers, which we would do in May and September when the Ontario Police College starts. They'll come in at 4th class. And we also had the balance of a 2022 new hire, which was in our information technology section. So we have that adding to the increase this year. Obviously hiring 4 communicators April 1st. And, we're certainly in a position where we need to really work on upstaffing in our comm center. And then what we've been doing too with the pending retirements is hiring 4th class as opposed to experienced officers coming in directly at a 1st class salary. So next slide, please. Obviously supplies and materials, some of those costs have went up. As we, fuels and lubricants, for example, we used to budget 30,000 per year. We're now budgeting 28,000 liters per month. Things like that we're working on actual numbers and costs, obviously, of gas, for example, they go up and down. So we're trying to be in the middle and be neutral there with costs. And those are some of the expenses related to supplies and materials. Next slide, please. Once again, contracted services. So just like anybody else, we have our bills that come in and, things that we're working on, city insurance allocations. So that causes us to look at our fleet. Do we have enough vehicles? Do we have too many? If we can reduce here and there, we can alter these numbers. This is what we're projecting for 2023. And then in a lot of these areas, we do a yearly audit to ensure that we're being accurate and exact where we need to be. Next slide, please. Contributions to reserves, which this is something that's done, and my apologies, I haven't been here for a terribly long time, so just learning some of the city processes, but we work closely hand in hand with the city with regards to what our contributions to reserves are, and this is in line with the city, obviously with city policy and procedure. Next slide. So just a quick snapshot. Once again, it's always hard with comparisons because every community is different, but just a quick snapshot of what we're, different communities are at, but they all have their own challenges and they are their own assumptions. But just a quick idea of what's going on around for you to peruse there. And once again, just another kind of cost comparative. This is from the FIR data that's established. So this would be from 2021. Every community gets FIR data and you can go in and extract what you need. It's available at City Hall. Next slide, please. So just a kind of a look at what we had in 20 actual costs and 20 actual costs in 21. Of course, our approved budget for 22 and then our proposed budget for 23, just seeing obviously when we add people, obviously costs go up. Understanding too that people aren't the be all and end all, but it's certainly something that we certainly in achieving our goals and objectives, we know that staffing is one of our major issues. Next slide, please. A 3-year forecast. This is something that the city of Kingston, I applaud them for doing this and having agencies look out. And John Howe's our financial guru. He does go through all of this with a fine-tooth comb. For all of you who know John, that's exactly how he does it. And we're trying to give the best snapshot that we can to the city of where we're going to be in 24, 25, and 26. We don't have that crystal ball, but in a perfect world, this is where we're going to be, barring, some major issues that present themselves that sometime occur. And then we've just listed here what the assumptions are. Once again, with staffing, obviously adding staff in 24, 25, and 26, and understanding in 24, 25, and 26, we have people who will be retiring as well, and people who change careers and things like that. Next slide, please. Obviously, there's always risks with any budget. And I've listed here for you some of the risks that we face just along with everybody else. We're going to be going into negotiations with the associations very soon. So collective bargaining will take place. Government policy changes. If we see any changes that may take place for funding and things like that, we're at the mercy of that. The incidents that we're dealing with now are becoming obviously more complex when we get into human trafficking, homicides. We're not immune to all that, but it all becomes a little more, obviously it impacts our budget. Staff vacancies, obviously, and you can see price of gasoline we've discussed and those type of things. So those are the risks that are inherent in any budget. I just wanted to identify them to you here. Next slide, please. Our capital. Obviously, a lot of our capital is related to, IT, information technology, and we had a lot of upgrading to take place. And these are things that happen. Everything has a shelf life. There's some new software that we brought in. There's some of our servers that need to be replaced. And some of those things in keeping in with the city's policy and procedure, our capital is outside of our operating budget. That's a separate kind of envelope, but we are very specific into what we need for that. You can see some of the things that we're going with, just the majority of it being information technology or software and that kind of idea. Just upgrading our technology to work a little more closely with our frontline and also to support us when I'm trying to bring information to the board. And at the end of the day, ultimately, using technology to assist us in our goal of decreasing crime rates and increasing our clearance rates. So it's, there's a lot of technology that's available. It's not the be all and end all, but it's one thing. It's another tool, and as I say, it's a tool in the toolbox for us. And a lot of the software will be part of that. Some of it's in relation to things that we have to have, video interview rooms and things like that, and just updating. So that's our capital requests for 2023. And I think that is the last slide I have for you. And I know it's a kind of if there's questions, I'm happy to get to them. I wanted to get the bulk of the information to you, and I certainly applaud everybody for their assistance and getting this budget prepared and presented to you today.
On the board, questions for Scott? I imagine one of the biggest challenges is, the cost of premiums for benefits, things like that go up, and you really have nothing to do with it. It's not something that you can affect. And from what I've been reading, those have been going up quite a lot lately.
Yeah, exactly. Wages, benefits, obviously the benefits are tied specifically to that. And, everybody knows everywhere they go today, costs have increased, and we have the same issues. So yes, it's all part and parcel. And yeah, you know what, we're doing our best to mitigate what we have and ensure that we're providing the board with the most accurate, up-to-date, because at the end of the day, our ultimate goal is to come in at zero. We're providing you with a budget that we believe if we use this budget at the end, we can say we've accomplished our tasks and obviously provided to you an accurate portrayal of what we need to get through 2023.
Yeah. And John's been fairly good at that year to year. It is a working document. Current events do change the budget throughout the year as we go through it. And Christian, you have a question? Oh, sorry. First was Jimmy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Chief. We understand this, the challenges we're going through for the cost increase and the benefit cost increase and everything else. Also, we recognize a lot of challenges in the departments, the shortage of the staff and some other issues, the WSIB and stuff like that. The budget you are asking 4% increase in that budget. What is your comments on it? How it's going to help the community policing and providing a better services from the police and some of the other things what the police need to do to make our city safer, such as reduction of the crime and resolving the cases. You think that budget will be sufficient to help out to have more staff and meet some of those challenges? Yeah,
for sure. And I guess it's no secret. Obviously, we've had to really take a look at the organization in 2022, a hard look. And in order to ensure we had enough frontline officers, obviously the chief at the time last year had to make some hard decisions. One of them being obviously that's been in the news a lot in relation to the mounted unit and redeploying the rider to another area of the organization. Currently, we're trying to ensure that we have enough bodies on the road to respond to calls and to be there when 911 gets activated and to do some proactive policing so we can, obviously getting to the root cause of what causes crime, that's how we really move forward. And if it was only that easy, because policing is one part of the puzzle, but what this budget's doing is we're looking to obviously improve on the number of staff we have available. And, obviously when people are absent, that leaves vacancies and we have to plug those vacancies and oftentimes it means redeploying from one area to the other. So one area suffers while the other area, we hope, and flourish isn't the right term, but that's what we really want. So for example, in patrol, as opposed to just being reactive, having the ability to be proactive as well. And if there's enough people to answer all the 911 calls and then there's extra people who aren't required on those, they're being diverted to do other things like downtown safety, Can we reduce the number of assaults, which is one of the big issues? What can we do to reduce that weighted crime rate? What can we do to increase our clearance rates? Because minor crime, obviously minor crime is one thing when we talk about mischief and thefts of from vehicles and the prolific rise in theft of vehicles. So having the staff to be out there and do that using technology along with our staff to obviously make Kingston a safer place. That's what we want for everyone who lives here, regardless of what your status is. You're a community member, and we want to ensure safety for everybody. So when we look at all of those things, we have our front line, and then what we're asking for here also for communicators, we have a lot that goes on behind the scenes in, number of calls that get dispatched and the number of calls received are two very different numbers. Because we have a person who is there answering the call, and then can we divert that? If it's a low priority or a non-criminal related kind of call, can we divert it? So things like having we've got the ability to transfer mental health calls right to the crisis line from our dispatch, but we have to have the staff there to answer that phone. And when we have all the people in the right places, those things become routine, and routine isn't a very good word, but when we have the ability to spend that extra minute on the phone talking with somebody to say, yeah, you know what, this can go over to the crisis line, we stay on the phone with them until it gets over there, but it doesn't need a police response. And if we have to cut corners, sometimes we have to send officers to get there just to make sure everything's okay. And what we're trying to do is eliminate that. And I think community-wide, everybody wants to see that. Public safety rises, and there's things that we need to look at. Do we need to be at everything? And throwing bodies at everything is not always the answer. And that's why we're looking at our strategic plan and what our outcomes and objectives are, and how are we going to achieve those. And I know one thing for us that's an issue right now is staffing. To reach some of the objectives, we need to be able to have the people go out there and proactively do it. So that's kind of where we're looking at right now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I hopefully this increase will increase the level of service and the security for our citizen as well, as long in the next 3-year plan as well. I see that, and it will be awesome if you can highlight, in the next 3-year plan, how we're going to reduce our crime rate and providing a better service. Thank you very much.
Christian, go ahead.
So if I understand, Chief, the Bank of Canada, I think, forecasts inflation about 4.25% for 2023. So what you're asking is essentially for a budget that's sort of in line with inflation increase and significant, I guess, efficiencies that you're looking to find in terms of to adjust the staffing. Nonetheless, is that sort of a correct interpretation?
Yeah, for sure. And we're looking at all of that. And that's a great point. And thanks for the reminder on that. And that's exactly it. And, absenteeism has a number of different factors. Sometimes things happen. People break their legs, things happen like that. And then there's other things that we can do because, we know the continual repeated response to numerous calls has an impact on staffing itself. And by having the ability to, just have more people available for certain things, it's a start, and it's a start to keep people at work as well. So I'd look at it kind of on a double, two levels here. That yes, the staffing is a very important part for not only the community and community safety, but also for officer wellness and resiliency and those particular items. But inflation itself, which everyone I know is dealing with, we're not immune, and that's John spends his day doing a great job, and as items increase and costs increase to the consumer, they increase to us as well. So.
And do you sense that sort of the ask that you're putting forward will also allow a greater police visibility and presence in the city in terms of sort of the staffing allocation that you'll be able to make to patrol?
Yeah, and certainly that's something, I've only been certainly in this chair for the last month, but it's certainly something that we've, as a senior management team, and of course, I've been able to interact with a lot of our stakeholder partners in the community over the last couple of weeks. That's one of the big things that everybody's asking for. It's that visibility, it's that presence, and then working with the board on things like clearance rates and reducing, weighted crime rates and things like that. They're all part and parcel, because some of it is merely being present. Certainly for the downtown core, I hear from a lot of businesses about, we just want to see it. Can you be down here? So now we're working on strategies on how do we get people to the areas that need it, and using evidence-based policing, intelligence-led policing, which are more than just buzzwords, but it's where's the crime occurring? What is it? What's the harmful action? What's the how do we address it if we're not there, for starters, but also understanding that there's a lot more to it. And once again, the community policing aspect of being down there, and I'm just using the downtown for an example. This is citywide, but obviously there's a lot of activity taking place downtown. So yeah, looking at those, what's driving the crime rate and what can we do to intervene and have an intervention, and then slowly work on improving our results.
And if I can reinterpret that, I think what I hear you saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that this will give you an opportunity to work a bit more proactively on the crime prevention side, rather than just reactively sort of chasing after the 8 ball with very limited resources, especially on patrol.
That's exactly it. Thank you. And that's what we're trying to do is if we can be proactive, let's get out there and be proactive, because that has a significant impact on everything that follows.
Thanks. Gail, would you like to, do you have any questions, thoughts? You're okay? Okay. Then if there's no more further questions, I would like to thank Acting Chief Scott Fraser and John Howes for all the work of collecting the numbers and putting this together for us. We're going to move to a vote on the budget. Pass this through to be able to go to the City of Kingston. Can we get a firster and a seconder? Or no, actually, just it's a vote. So
We still need a mover and a seconder.
Firster and a seconder will be Gail and Jimmy. All in favor? Very good. You got that, Lori?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Then the board approves the proposed 2023 operating and capital budgets to be presented to City Council. Very good. I would
Vote
ask
please,
for
all in favor?
all in favor?
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Jimmy?
Jimmy, you in favor? Yep, good.
Okay.
Then I'd ask for adjournment. Motion to adjourn. First or seconder, good. Gail, Jimmy, all in favor. Thank you for everyone's time. And meeting adjourned at 9:56. Thank you.